center of Basque culture. For over 500 years, it had been the center of a tug of war between France and Spain, each one claiming that they owned the land, but the Basque people staunchly remained independent. Because of their refusal to align themselves with fascism, Franco and Hitler, they paid the price. With the approval of dictator General Francisco Franco of Spain, German and Italian air forces descended on the small town of Guernica and completely destroyed it. The attack took a total of 3.5 hours. The reason it was a target was to allow the fascist forces to test the aerial warfare of their newly developed bombs and planes as they geared up for the invasions yet to come. Next picture. This is the town. Taken right afterwards. It was, in effect, training for the Nazi air raids to come a few years later on Rotterdam and Poland and other parts of Europe. The bombing is considered one of the first raids on defenseless civilian populations by a modern air force. The German Luftwaffe and Blitzkrieg was a doctrine of terror bombing, in which the civilians were deliberately targeted in order to break the will of the enemy and to terrorize them. The number of victims of the attack is still unclear because all records have been destroyed. It ranged anywhere from 300 to over 1,700 dead, which included those who died of their injuries after the attack. And later on, there were multiple bodies that were found in the rubble. A few days later, Spanish painter Pablo Picasso, who was living in Paris at the time, opened his morning newspaper and saw the story of the attack. While Picasso had never been particularly political, he was staunchly anti-fascist and anti-Franco. He had been commissioned to paint a picture for the Spanish pavilion for the 1937 Paris World's Fair, scheduled to be opened in July. Incensed, he went to work, creating a stark black, gray, and white oil painting in the aftermath of war. The somber tones of the painting represent chaos and destruction. This is the painting. It is called Guernica. Now, the painting is mural-sized, 11.5 feet high, and over 25.5 feet wide. He completed it in mid-June 1937, and it first was displayed July 12, 1937. It is a symbolic painting with cubist elements, but not completely cubist, and is one of allegorical content, not depicting the war itself, but what is left behind. It is a portrait of evil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the picture and I'm going to show the various symbolic elements that he put